Yes. So, and that image on the screen there is Riyadh, which is the capital city of Saudi Arabia. The table of content or the discussion today, I will just share some of the objectives that we are hoping to achieve. I'll give a little bit of a background information. We should locate the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia because a lot of people are not really familiar with its location in context. Let's look at a regional benchmark that has a lot of influence on development that's happening here in Saudi Arabia, within the region and actually globally as well. And then we will really dive into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So don't be intimidated by the content. We should be able to wrap all of this up maybe in 35 minutes. So the objective today, I hope that give you guys a really good introduction of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I do want to showcase what it means to have a bold leadership, vision, and commitment. And also, many people on this call are architects, urban designers, planners, strategists, thinkers, rule breakers. Many of us are. Builders and outliers. So there are some opportunities here that you will see that may sort of relate to yourselves and your organization. And finally, I don't know if I'll be able to show you the cities of tomorrow, but at least allow us to ask questions about what are the cities of tomorrow. So that's hopefully we will get to achieve those during the next 30 minutes or so. But before I start, I just want to sort of go a little bit more and beyond what Sam have said about me. Just sort of answer a basic question: why am I here in Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia is in the press and the media, global media, a lot, and sometimes it's the perception is very much different than what's portrayed. I speak for myself that I'm here in Saudi Arabia, one, because it's really one of those places that are emerging, that are really defining what the future of urbanization, urban design, planning, economies, the evolution of economies. It's really leading edge in sort of transforming and enabling people to grow and be prosperous. I personally, this is my second time in Saudi Arabia, and I have to say the landscape as I'm standing here, the landscape, the people, the culture, extremely embracing, and lots of warmth, and but that also probably speaks to myself. I'm a little bit of an adventurer. I'm a little bit of an explorer. I like to be in the frontier. So it all sort of works perfectly with what Saudi Arabia's trajectory is in development, what my own interests are, and how those two come together. So this picture you see here actually was taken last week or so, and it's part of the site where my project is located. So it's very much alive. And those peaks you see there are probably about 1,600 meters to 2,000 meters high. And in the desert plain, you can see the scale actually of the trees. So spectacular landscape. I also want to say, a lot of our impression of Saudi Arabia might be for the wrong reasons, but I can tell you and testify that Saudi Arabia and its various urban centers, and what the image you're seeing here is Riyadh, is extremely vibrant, and it's transforming. There are a lot of, believe it or not, in those images you see there on the upper right, Mariah Carey, I don't know who else, all kinds of bands, international bands and music festivals that are becoming very popular here in the kingdom. So you wouldn't think that those kinds of events are happening here, but they are happening here. On the lower left, all kinds of sporting activities, international events,
are happening and transforming. And more on the social side of things, on the lower right, social transformations such as women in the labor market, women driving, so on and so forth. So all of these things are all indicators that the kingdom is transforming and is leading in the region in all of its development. Just to sort of recap what Sam said, this is the beginning of a series that HKIUD will be doing. And I just want to, since I'm the first one, I want to remind us, planning, urban design, and human prosperity. And I highlighted that because at the end of the day, I believe the work that I'm doing and all of us are doing, it's all about human prosperity, right? Giving a sort of a base or a framework to enable us all to grow and live at the best potential that we can possibly be. And that does not happen without good governance. We have to have some economic vibrancy. We have to have some connectivity, getting from one place to the next. We have to feel safe and secure. We have to have certain institutions that are acting as catalysts, as for example, maybe a government institutions or a university or something like that. We have to have a mix of programs because, as we know, the mix of uses does drive vibrancy. Public spaces are very important for us to gather and engage. We have to be operating in a sort of a safe environment. Clean water, our forests and trees and open spaces are very well taken care of and not polluted. We have to have opportunities for us to evolve and grow. We have to be flexible. We have to have good infrastructure, and we have to also have good social infrastructure for us to for our well-being. So I just wanted to, again, make a point that urban design and planning, it doesn't really happen in a vacuum. There's a lot of pieces that we need to think about holistically to achieve those goals. And so now we get into locating Saudi Arabia. And what I've said here, it's located in Western Asia. I know our HKIUD is based in East Asia. And a lot over the past century or two refer to the region where Saudi Arabia is as the Middle East. But there's a new thought now in geography and geopolitics, and actually in geography as well, that Saudi Arabia is, as a matter of fact, in West Asia. So I wanted to really look a little bit at what that means in terms of contributing to the identity of Saudi Arabia. So Western Asia, it's made up of 25 countries, and it's about 5.9 million square kilometer compared to the US, 9.8. It has a population of about 300 million people compared to the US, 331. And it has a density of 58 people or persons per square kilometer compared to the US at 36. So it's very sort of sparsely populated. And the GDP, it's quite low, $10,000 compared to the US at 75,000. So as you can see, Saudi sits right in the middle of all of this. From a sort of a geography and industry point of view, on the upper left, the density, the population, as you can see, really lies along the Mediterranean and along the coast, the highest density of population. And as you get away from the coast, which makes sense, it gets less dense. On the upper right map, you can start to see what are some of the land use within the region, right? The pink, which looks like it's the largest portion of the map, it's very nomadic. So you can imagine this sort of environment that it is very, very sparsely populated, nomadic, or just wasteland. So the population is very much focused on the edges.
On the lower left, rainfall, water is such an important part of any place. Without water, you cannot really survive. But here is the rainfall. Most of the region has less than 10 inches of rainfall per year, 10 inches. I think 10 inches probably in Hong Kong, it's takes an hour or something like that, some of the rain that I've experienced there in Hong Kong. And then on the lower right, just give you a little bit of the economic drivers for the region. As you can see, oil and petroleum is one of the biggest within the region. Of course, you have some outliers like apparel and food in Turkey. And towards the east, in Afghanistan and other parts, you have more controversial economies there. But that sort of gives you a taste of the region. One thing I want to point out in the population density, you can see here actually, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the darkest and most populated area is Egypt, which is that sort of funnel thing there in Egypt. That's Cairo, with the most dense concentrated population. One other interesting fact that you guys might be interested in is that, you know, in this region in Western Asia, 7 out of the 10 oldest and most continuous city or settlements are located within the region. I don't know how many of you guys have been in this region, but here they are. This is an interesting fact, and the reason why I wanted to point this out is urbanization, city planning, living within density has had a long history here in the Middle East. Of course, arguably there are other settlements in other parts of the world, but it's good to know that there is a history here going all the way back to 10,000 years BC, so that's 11,000 years of occupation. I want to also show, because a lot of people don't know the character and texture of some of these cities out here in Western Asia. I had some samples here, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Iran, Turkey. And I specifically picked these images so you can see the different dynamics that, you know, we experience just about everywhere else in the world. Cities that are set in valleys and hills and have a variety of climate, snow, rain, water, dry. They also have cities that are historical, like Amman, and you have places that are, you know, super modern, contemporary. So the variety of both physical and character are very much present within the region. One key thing that sort of sets about in this region is actually the design principles of an Islamic city, and it's Islamic city because 95% of the population within this region are Muslims, and the practice of Islam is the dominant religion. And certainly with that influence the way that the cities work. And here I want to share with you guys some of these principles, right? The cities are designed by the natural laws, of course, rivers, mountains, hills, but also the religious and cultural beliefs, right? How do people interact? What are some of those beliefs? What are some of the important monuments and places? And also the religious law, the Islamic law, Sharia law. How does that dictate gathering? How does that dictate, you know, the various groups and ethnic groups and so on and so forth? And then also the social principles, you know, perhaps the socioeconomic strata allows some people to live in one place or the other. So these here are some key principles that are basically the bedrock of city development in this part of the world. And just to sort of get it into one more level of detail, moving into the principles, if you look at most Islamic cities within the region, these components here are actually quite typical, right? You'll have a main mosque,
You'll have souks. Souks is the word for markets, or basically the high street, shopping and commercial and retail activities. You'll have a citadel, which is a historical sort of building, but essentially that's where the ruler lives. There's a citadel. You have the residential quarters, you have the street network, walls, and then beyond the walls you have the exterior. So it's the sort of the composition is probably similar to European medieval cities, but the difference is the sort of the Islamic interpretation of these cities. So Western Asia, how does this sort of tie back into Saudi as a region? You know, the trends that I've observed, the trends and aspiration of the region is everybody wants to become relevant, right? You want to have a place in the world. You want to be have a voice, and you want to contribute to maybe a global conversation. Everybody's trying to diversify their economy. Everybody's trying to preserve their history and culture. Everybody's trying to be resilient. You know, we all are exposed to some form of challenges or disaster. How do you come back quickly? Everybody's trying to adapt to the climate change. It's also here. You know, it's desert. It's hot. It's going to get hotter. How do we adapt? Everybody's trying to be accountable, right? And take some responsibility for their actions or their contributions to their people and their sort of region and globally. I think there's a trend and an aspiration to be inclusive. It's happening. And there's also an aspiration to have you know, equality within the social landscape. So from a regional point of view, these are some of the aspiration, and you can see how they are sort of permeating through as we go into Saudi Arabia. But before I do get to Saudi Arabia, I do want to sort of share with you guys, most of you are familiar with this model, sort of a benchmark of who or what set the sort of the trend for development in the region. And it's a hard model to duplicate, but it's nevertheless the sort of the gold standard, let's say, for the region. It will be wrong for me not to mention as well Singapore, to some extent, is probably the most mentioned Asian city that everybody aspires to. Of course, let's not forget Hong Kong. So if in the realm of aspirations, I think Dubai, Hong Kong, Singapore has always been somewhat of the gold standard that we're all thriving for. And so in this picture here, as you can see, in the 80s, Dubai, I don't know how many of you guys have been to Dubai. On the left, that's what it looked like just in the 80s, 40 years ago. And on the right, that's how it looks today. Super tall, dense, vibrant, and thriving economy just in 40 years. Dubai, just to sort of as a benchmark, you know, it has an area of 1,610 square kilometers. I compared it to Hong Kong. Compared to Hong Kong, 2,700 square kilometers. Population of Dubai, 3.5 million. Hong Kong, 7.2 million. Dubai has a density of 2,200 people per square kilometer, compared to Hong Kong, 6,000. So it's quite dense. Not as dense as Hong Kong, but quite dense. And the GDP is $46,000, while in Hong Kong, 69,000. On the lower right there, that's the list of economy that Dubai is really sort of grounded on. And at various stages, some of these economies were built from scratch. They sort of were legacy, and some of them are sort of the way forward. Information, communication, telecommunication. One of the historical ones, by the way, it's diamond and gold. Marine transport. The way forward, it's based on investment. It's based on travel and tourism. So the foundation of Dubai, and the Dubai that you're probably aware of, sits on all of these sectors.
Most importantly, what Dubai is Dubai today because of some of these pivotal shifts that occurred within the Emirate. The ruling family was pivotal because they sort of broke away and wanted to pursue some of their own vision. They also had a tax exemption on expats, so that started attracting people. Interestingly, point number 3 for East Asians, and which I didn't know this before, the invention of artificial pearl in Japan had an impact on Dubai pearl industry. So once the artificial pearls were invented in Japan, the economy took a dive here in Dubai. So then they needed to sort of reinvent themselves, and other framework were developed. They developed their ports, the Emirates airline, which is quite popular and globally recognizable. They did some land reform decrees. They sort of started their financial free zone model, digital and media city model. And what these things mean, by the way, they start giving freedom and a voice to the not only Dubai and the Emirates, but also the region. So you can come and be a little bit more free and open in what you're publishing, what you're creating. And that really was attractive for a lot of people to move to Dubai. There are various social reforms that are happening and ongoing. And there's also some sort of the beginning of nationalization, which has been always something that that has been not on the forefront, but it's becoming. And what I mean by that, with the 3.5 million people living in Dubai, a huge number of that are expats, and they really don't have any residence sort of grounding in Dubai. And it's always had been a problem. So the government is now looking at how to sort of solve that problem. So these are some pivotal shifts. And again, I know the audience on this call, it's quite global. And I just want to share with you guys some of these policies that really stimulate and create prosperity, yeah? Dubai as well is known for creating, building, and making places where people want to be. This is important. If you don't have places where people want to be, then you're not going to generate and create vibrancy in your economy and attract people. This specific picture is at the Expo 2020. And again, urban design planning plays a really important part of this here. So key to any economy: create, design, make places where people want to be, make places where people want to live as well. Because without that, I mean, nobody's going to want to come. You're not going to attract a population that you intend to. And also, you want to make places for all. I love this image here. You have custom and traditional. You have a more liberalized lifestyle, sports, family. So you have to make places that are. This goes back to the point about equality and inclusivity. And Dubai, again, as a model, as a benchmark, is really a place that is looked at as a good model for the region. So that now brings us to Saudi Arabia, because really thinking about the region, thinking about Dubai and what that model has to offer, I think Saudi Arabia is borrowing from all of these places to sort of build its future. I wanted to play this video. It's a video that was taken at the Expo 2020, but please listen to what he's saying, and that will give you some of the clues of basically an introduction of Saudi Arabia. Okay, so I'll play the video now.
Well, thank you so much for having us here today to share with you the story of the Saudi Pavilion. The pavilion from outside and inside focus into four pillars: people, land, heritage, and opportunity. And this is what we are offering to the visitors. We want them to discover the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We want them to feel the story and join the journey. Since the moment that they're going to enter the pavilion, they're going to see the wonder of the lands that we have in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And then they're going to be immersed into the ladder of the heritage. We're actually adding the 6 UNESCO sites that have been registered, and it's part of the Vision 2030 to include those heritage and preserve them as part of our identity. And then they will be introduced to the giga projects that are currently undergoing on the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And the latest part of their visitor within the building is the vision. And the vision is an artwork that we're inviting people to discover the color, the technology, the nature, and the people of the kingdom through this artwork that was done by 5 Saudi artists. Honestly speaking, the Saudi Pavilion is a window for everyone to explore the variety of the culture that we have in the kingdom. As a matter of fact, the pavilion logo is full of color, and it represents the full cultures that we have within the kingdom. We have 13 regions, and within the same region, we have different culture. And this is what we want the visitor to go away with. We want them to discover the kingdom. We want them to be curious and visit the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and enjoy that journey that we, as Saudis, and the young people that you're going to see around the pavilion are empowering that future. 70% of the Saudi Pavilion programs are actually taking place outside the fence of the Saudi Pavilion. Our programs varies from culture to family shows, to art, to literature. One of the shows that I invite everyone to come during the weekend is the variety show. That show will show how the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is taking culture, but into a futuristic way. So we're inviting all shows that are actually happening all across the world to happen in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So we're going to have a nice screen with a background of the cities and the technology and the beautiful scene and natures of the kingdom. And we'll have multiple variety shows within the kingdom done by Saudi talent and merged with international talents as well. I would like to share the pride of myself as a Saudi and my colleagues who are working over here. The fact that we are sharing the story of the kingdom, the fact that we're sharing our future and our past in this Expo 2020 is a privilege by itself. I invite everyone to be part of this story.
Okay, so in that video, I mean, he mentioned a couple of things about you know, the where the Saudi envision themselves to go. He talked a lot about technology. He talked about the giga projects. Talked about history and culture. Talks about artists. So it really does give you a flavor of the diversity and the vibrancy of Saudi Arabia and also its aspiration. I do have to say the Saudi Pavilion was one of the most popular pavilions at Expo and won a lot of awards. So if you guys have some time, just go ahead and check it out. So just to sort of give you a little bit of Saudi Arabia data facts. It's an area of 2.1 million square kilometers. Again, I'm comparing it to Hong Kong. Population 38 million people. Just for comparison, Australia has 25 million people. Here in Saudi, it's 38 million people. 15 people per square kilometer, so it's very low in its density, so lots of open space. And GDP per capita is $28,000, but this is certainly rising as we speak. Every day the economic data are improving. And just like Dubai, I wanted to point out some of the foundational sectors that are supporting the economy here. Obviously, petroleum and natural gas, it's the #1.
as a result, petrochemical. Foreign investment is becoming a big thing. Construction industry has been a huge contributor. Minerals is a sort of a new emerging industry. Lots of discovery on various new mineral. Agriculture, believe it or not, as much as it's the desert, there are opportunities for agriculture. And pilgrims. This is a very important one that people don't think about, but pilgrimage does contribute a big part of the Saudi economy. Real estate, automotive, finance, and communication technology. So these here are really the ones that are driving and pushing Saudi from a economic and financial prosperity. Again, to let us understand what's driving this and some of the key policy shifts. The Vision 2030, as was mentioned, launched in 2016, sort of really put Saudi on the map from a development point of view and a transformative point of view. Renewable energy is another policy shift. Saudi Arabia knows that it cannot depend on oil, so it's exploring other sources of energy. It also had, like I said before, it's developing its mining sector, something that wasn't looked at before because it was so oil dependent. Tourism and entertainment, this is one of the hottest sector here in the kingdom. As a matter of fact, most of the projects and most of the media that you see are focusing on tourism and entertainment. Domestic and foreign investment, there's a privatization shift that's happening right now. Small, medium, and enterprising financing, healthcare, government restructuring, physical reform, women in politics. Again, this is a very, it might sound very trivial, but this is incredibly part of the progression of Saudi Arabia, and also the changes in labor laws. So I would say that these here are some of the key shifts that Saudi Arabia is sort of employing for them to progress. The picture on the left, by the way, is in Riyadh. It's the financial district, and you can probably see that picture with every star architect having a building there. I'm sure you guys on the call can probably identify a lot of these buildings. Probably some of you have worked on them. But anyway, that's sort of building the infrastructure to support the economy and the financial sector is super important. Like I said, the Vision 2030 was one of these really game-changing sort of platforms that launched the kingdom into transformation. You guys can have a look on your own, but what I want to point out is the bottom line here, where it really sort of results in the quality of life. It's talk about sustainability, housing, health, financial. It talks about the cultural. It talks about transformation, public investment fund, which you guys probably read a lot about, the PIF. It talks about the privatization. It talks about logistics and human capacity. This human capacity aspect is a very important part of Saudi's transformation, because you need to build the skill that the people have so that they can continue to grow and expand. So this was a sort of the pillars of the 2030 vision. And you guys as architects, planners on the call will probably start recognizing some of these projects. So there are 9 projects here that are considered to be the catalyst for the 2030 vision. Some of you guys are probably have heard the word giga projects. These are the giga projects that Saudi has on its books. The one that I'm working on and where I'm sitting is the first one, the yellow one. So if you guys want to sort of know where I'm sitting right now, it's the upper left there at Neom. And just to sort of capture these 9 projects, it's an investment of $584 billion. I wasn't able to compare this, but I don't know what Hong Kong spends per year on its capital investment projects, but It's 584 billion in total, and projected to generate 682,000 jobs. So these projects really are the catalytic drivers. And you know, the sort of the spirit or the aspiration that these 9 projects are sort of really catering for. It's about innovation, it's about people prosperity, it's about culture, and it's about a lifestyle. So essentially, those projects are setting us up with these 4 pillars that will certainly help Saudi transform and attract its KPIs. Okay. For me, and I sort of knowing that it's HKIUD and the audience, I wanted to categorize the projects that are happening here in Saudi. There are a lot of, not a lot, but some of them are greenfield development, just starting from scratch, starting from sand, which is what my project is. There are projects, preservation projects, there are urban infill projects, there are urban redevelopment projects, reclamation, there's you know, some islands and their land reclamation, there's reforestation, and there's rewilding as well. So there's nature, forestation, and animal programs that are all happening here in the kingdom. The picture on the left, you guys probably have seen some of it in the tourism videos, but it's a cultural heritage site that is extremely sacred and here in Saudi. So again, tourism and preservation is one of those drivers. Project typology specifically, again, for the architects and the designers and the urbanists and the call, transport and mobility, art, entertainment and culture, hospitality, science and research, housing, offices, sports and leisure. Sports and leisure is a big one, actually. Lots of opportunities here. Conference centers, government offices, building facilities, parks and green spaces, public realm, and also free trade zones. So basically just about everything, every typology that exists are happening. On the left, I don't know if my friend Lucas is on the call, but this picture here is from my friend Lucas's firm, One Works, and they're working on a revitalization, transport and public realm project in one of the cities here in Saudi, in Mecca. So I wanted to show you guys some of the sophistication and the design input and the global design community contribution to KSA. Again, showing you guys and demonstrating to you the opportunities that are here. The construction industry have been extremely strong and kept growing. In 2002, there was a drop, but that, you know, was a global recession with the pandemic and so on and so forth. But now it's picking back up in 2023, and it's projected to sort of keep growing. Here is a really good part for the architects and the business managers that are on the call. Just to show you in dollars the opportunity that exists here. In 2021, 2022, $85 billion worth of projects were awarded. And that's not the construction part of it, that's the fees. The fees that initiated the study to the contractor bid. That is not the cost of to build the project. In 2023 to 2025, it's projected to be $484 billion of design fees available. So if any one of the Hong Kong or any global firm wants to come and bid and participate, you can see the dollar amount of opportunity. And then beyond 2025, there's about $600 billion of design fee up for grabs. So you guys, you probably need to get over here sooner than later.
Okay, so that's sort of the data and getting you guys oriented. Really want to get into where I would sort of operate at the city scale level. I want to show you guys a video for those of you who have never been to Saudi Arabia. I was in the plane. This is my video, flying over Jeddah a couple of months ago, and I took this video while sitting on the window seat. So I just want to give you guys a little bit of a taste or a flavor of a Saudi city. And perhaps in your own mind, just sort of observe and see what you see, and perhaps you can see some opportunities, challenges, and so on and so forth. So let me just play, it's a very short video. Let me just play this video. Well, as you can see there, it's the density of Jeddah, the density, the size of the streets, pedestrian quality of pedestrian walks, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of interesting opportunities and that needs to be addressed. So that's, I just again wanted to give you guys a little bit of a character. I now want to really get into this launch of the cities of tomorrow, and I cannot tell the story better than His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, whose vision it is to think about cities of tomorrow and what Saudi Arabia is developing. So I'll play this video as well.
على مدى العصور والحضارات كانت تبنى المدن لحماية الإنسان بمساحات ضيقة، وبعد الثورة الصناعية بنيت المدن لتضع الآلة والسيارة والمصنع قبل الإنسان. المدن التي تدعي أنها هي الأفضل في العالم يقضي فيها الإنسان سنين من حياته من أجل التنقل، وسوف تتضاعف هذه المدة في 2050. في 2050 سوف يهجر مليار إنسان بسبب ارتفاع انبعاثات الكربون وارتفاع منسوب مياه البحار. 90% من البشر يتنفسون هواء ملوث. لماذا نقبل أن نضحي بالطبيعة في سبيل التنمية؟ ولماذا يتوفى 7 مليون إنسان سنويا بسبب التلوث؟ ولماذا نفقد 1 مليون إنسان سنويا بسبب الحوادث المرورية؟ ولماذا نقبل أن تهدر سنين من حياة الإنسان في التنقل؟ لذلك نحن بحاجة إلى تجديد مفهوم المدن إلى مدن مستقبلية. اليوم بصفتي رئيس مجلس إدارة نيوم نقدم لكم ذا لاين، مدينة مليونية بطول 170 كيلو تحافظ على 95% من الطبيعة في أراضي نيوم، 0 سيارات، 0 شوارع، و0 انبعاثات كربونية. تستطيع أن تقضي حوائجك اليومية بمدة مشي أقصاها 5 دقائق، وتستطيع أن تصل من أبعد نقطة إلى أبعد نقطة في 20 دقيقة بتكلفة بنية تحتية أقل 30%، وبجودة أفضل للمنتجات التي سوف تتقدم ب30%، بطاقة متجددة 100%. مشروع ذا لاين هو ثورة حضارية للإنسان، تضع الإنسان أولاً. التفاصيل سوف تكون كثيرة، سوف تقدم في أوقات لاحقة، لكن اليوم نترككم مع فيديو مبسط لهذا الإعلان.
Contemporary cities couldn't cope with growth. The contemporary city needs a full redesign. What if we removed cars? What if we got rid of streets? What if we innovated in the public space? What if we built around nature instead of over it? What if everything you needed was always a 5-minute walk away? What if invisible technology generates carefree and open urban space? What if sustainability was not a goal, but a given? What if we replace outdated urban services with new services driven by artificial intelligence? What if we built the line? A 170-kilometer revolution in urban living. Protecting the Earth's most stunning nature while creating unmatched livability. A home to all of us. Welcome to the line. Neom.
So guys, the Crown Prince talked a lot about, the way things have been for the past century or so or more, and the way that he envisioned us transforming cities of the future. Talks about pollution, talks about health and well-being, talks about energy, and so some of these things are the ones that are being employed here and really sort of being tested. This next video, the previous video shows you the concept of the line. This next video will take you a little bit more into the line to really explain a little bit more of how we envision this new revolution to sort of be organized.
For too long, humanity has existed within dysfunctional and polluted cities that ignore nature. Now, a revolution in civilization is taking place. Imagine a traditional city and consolidating its footprint, designing to protect and enhance nature. The line will be home to 9 million residents and will be built with a footprint of just 34 square kilometers. And we are designing it to provide a healthier, more sustainable quality of life. The line's communities are organized in 3 dimensions. Residents have access to all their daily needs within 5-minute walk neighborhoods. And the line's infrastructure makes it possible to travel end to end in 20 minutes with no need for cars, resulting in 0 carbon emissions. By leveraging AI technology, services are autonomous, saving you time and effort. Designed by world-leading architects, the line is 500 meters tall, 200 meters wide, 170 kilometers long, and housed within an elegant mirror glass facade. Intelligent solutions create efficiency and year-round temperate microclimate with natural ventilation. Energy and water supplies are 100% renewable. The line is designed as a series of unique communities, offering a wealth of amenities, providing equitable views and immediate access to the surrounding nature. With 40% of the world accessible within 6 hours, at the heart of the globe's key trade routes, a place for commerce and communities to thrive like nothing on Earth seen before. The line, the city that delivers new wonders for the world.
So that's the project I'm working on right now, guys. One of the thing I do want you guys to take away, that sort of typology that you see there, it's not a building, right? It's a city. It's a sort of the new form of the city in conserving nature and consolidating energy and resources. Sam, I'm aware, I'm conscious of time. I don't know if the webinar will shut off, but I do have one more video just to show a little bit more. If not, I can stop.
Yeah, actually, we have 2 questions already, and maybe we can go straight to the question first, and then maybe we leave the video at the end.
Okay, fine, but maybe we don't do the video. Let me just a slide on one more. I can wrap it up right now. So just to let you guys know, to Saudi Arabia and the trends, because this whole talk is about trends and what's happening globally. Here in Saudi, it's about modernization, it's about innovation, it's about capacity building, it's about efficiency, technology, digitalization, services, experience, diversification, inclusion, sustained prosperity, and giving back. And us as architects and urban designers certainly have a place to contribute. Thank you, guys. And by the way, we'll leave these pictures on the screen. This is where I live and play every day and on the weekends.
Very great. Thanks very much, Michelle. Maybe because of the time, I just read out the questions I received in the chat box. The first one is, thanks for your great presentation. As you mentioned, experiences in Dubai, Singapore, and Hong Kong inspire Saudi Arabia and the region. Could you explain more on what inspirations these cities mean to Saudi Arabia's urban design and planning? Thanks, Mr. Media. Yeah, Prashant.
I think it's more the quality of the urban typology, but also I have to always stress it's the business model. You know, Singapore have transformed into a financial center. Financial center attracts certain demographic demands a certain sort of lifestyle. So it's a very compounded. But if I should succinctly say, it's the quality of the urban space, it's the quality of services, the efficiency. That's the inspiration. Everybody wants to be like a Singapore or Hong Kong.
Thank you. And there is another question that Saudi is a vast country. Is there any main difference on urban design between Eastern, for example, Dammam, Riyadh, and Western cities, for example, Jeddah? How they plan for waterfront areas and encourage tourism?
Yeah, so from a city character point of view, like visually and experientially, they're not much different. The typology is the same because, like I said, the sort of the Islamic and the religious and social aspect of the city makes them sort of very similar. Where it differs is the geography. Sometimes you have different sand, rocks, historical factors, climate. So that's where the sort of the difference play. The difference also comes in with the different people. You know, Saudi is very diverse. From the north, you'll have a different tribe, a different sort of social construct. In the south, east, and west. In the west, in Jeddah, for example, because it's always been a place of exchange and port. The attitude and the views are a little bit more different there. It's a bit, some people say it's a little bit more liberal and open-minded. So the difference between the cities is not the physical that you can see and touch, but it's more of the spirit and the identity of the place.
Thank you, Michelle. We have another question that is, what is the current status, the challenges and opportunities you foresee with Line project?
Oh gosh, I don't know in what context, but a tremendous opportunity. Look, this have never been done before. We have always said that working on this project. Everybody knows that. So the opportunity is for us to experiment and invent, and I'm doing that daily in thinking how different this project is and how can we solve some of these problems. So the opportunities are in the innovation and experimentation. It will probably not always be successful, but even the failures we can learn from. It's challenging because it's never been done before, so we don't even know what we're doing, if it's going to be, you know, the next Singapore or Hong Kong or its own. So the unknown is what the challenge is, but I think there are more opportunities and more sort of optimism than anything else. So it's a bit tricky, but just the fact that it's never been done before.
There's another question that is noticed there are a lot of mega projects and redevelopment projects going on in KSA. How does the historical buildings conservation fit in with these development? Also, what is the public consultation like for these mega projects?
Yeah, so the first part, there is a consciousness of preserving existing neighborhoods and artifacts. Most of the projects are sort of on infill land. Those that are being sort of woven into existing fabric, there are, like everywhere else, some sort of, some sort of a balance in removing what might not deem as high value assets to make them integrated. So there is a conscious effort in making sure that we do preserve and engage. In terms of consultation, I'm not on the ground at that level, but there are certainly community consultation in forms that we're not accustomed to. It might happen in the mosque, it might happen at a community center, but there is some level of engagement, and by the way, and clarity from the government of how people are going to be engaged in some of these projects whenever it seems to be disruptive.
Another question. Heard the 1,000-meter Giga tower is halted due to financial reason. How can project like NEOM can sustain in your view?
Well, by having an excellent business model. It's going to be driven by what we're doing. We aspire to encourage the global community to come and invest and live and create that. Hopefully we have a successful model. That's the way. Just create a lifestyle and give opportunities that other will come and contribute and sustain. By the way, I just want to say, a project like the Giga Tower, let's not forget it's paused not because of something that we cannot explain, but look in context of when it started and what happened in the economic and global life cycle. This is important.
It's really great that I receive a lot of questions from the audience, actually. So it's a really good discussion today. We still have a few more. What's your perspective on linear planning than the denser city in terms of efficiency?
Yeah, now because I'm exposed to this linear planning, look, for our project, it's 200 meters wide, okay? 200 meters wide. I don't know what's that compared to in Hong Kong, maybe one of those main streets. But you get out and you're in nature, because that's what it's all about. You're not getting out and you're in sort of this transition of getting out from the core to this sort of transition area to the suburbs and on and on and on. This is where you need a car or a metro to go and get into the country area, like when I was living in Hong Kong. Although you can live next to the peak and you can get to nature there. But it's about consolidating and being very much in touch with nature. But also don't forget the economics of a linear city, right? Servicing and operations are very efficient. And modes of transportation there's no redundancy. So from that point of view, consolidating, let me just give you guys a little fact. I don't know if you picked it up in the video. The entire line, which will have eventually 9 million people, only occupies 34 square kilometers. Compared to any other global cities, it will be thousands and thousands of square kilometers. Only 34 square kilometer. So we're preserving all of this land for people to enjoy and let it be in place.
Also, I've got another question. What is your opinion regarding the global warming and climate changes regarding the context of Saudi Arabia? How NEOM overcome those?
By doing what we do best, designing and thinking about how to sort of work with those changes. We here at NEOM are also participating in that global discovery and conversation at COP29 that happened a couple of weeks ago in Egypt. We were there. We're also conducting studies with scientists and universities to understand what some of those issues are and react to them. It is climate change and heat and exposure to warm weather. I mean, this is something that Saudi and the region has been living and experiencing with. Granted, it's not the most, historically, it's not the most friendly for pedestrian, but that is changing, and also recognizing that we need to really contribute to the climate change discussion is something that's you know, essentially we're learning ourselves and adapting.
So we have another comment. Great presentation. What lessons do you take from your time living and working in Hong Kong as you now work on the line?
Oh, absolutely great question. I don't know if who this question is from, but great question. Living in Hong Kong and experiencing Hong Kong, all of that experience I am bringing here, specifically the social psychological aspect of vertical urban cities like Hong Kong. As a matter of fact, when I was interviewed and hired 2 years ago, I've been here now over 2 years ago. One of the thing that really got me here was living and breathing in that environment. I'm bringing that experience of how we interact in such dense place. I'm bringing the experience of living at height and how did that make me feel relating to the environment and the external. So I've brought a lot from Hong Kong, and I'm grateful. And as a matter of fact, I'm engaged right now with HK Poly. I don't know if anybody's a student or a professor from HK Poly in the call, but they're helping us think about our vertical urbanism and the socio-psychological effects of such an environment. So lots of Hong Kong input.
Okay, so the next question is, any info that can be shared about how they normally finance large-scale infrastructure projects?
There are a lot of public information. The best resource is the PIF, Public Investment Fund, Saudi Arabia. If you guys go on that website, there should be a lot of information. Everything that's on this PowerPoint is public, so you can basically find anything you see interesting or want to follow up on. But yes, the Public Investment Fund website will be a good place to start. And also, you know, a lot of the global consulting firms and banks and so on and so forth have done many studies on Saudi Arabia and some of its investment model. So you guys can look at that as well as a resource. Okay,
so I have another question. 200 meters is as wide as the Kai Tak runway. But if you pack too much density, it might be claustrophobic. Would it not be better to have nodes along the line integrated with open spaces? Is worth exploring?
Yes. Well, first of all, none of us know if it's going to be claustrophobic or not, because it's never been done before, and that's what we're trying to find out. But also, one of the key thing is, you remember the line vertical, you'll be looking out into the landscape, right? And some will be looking into the canyon of the line. So there is a little bit of a balance. And that's essentially how we're engaged and maybe addressing the claustrophobic. But again, that has not been tested or proven. And that's part of the studies that we're going through to understand what are some of the psychological dynamics of this project.
One more question, should be the last one. What is the development mix of the line? How much of it is geared towards commercial and industrial programs compared to residential, and to be built in how many phases?
Yeah, so again, all publicly available information. It's the same sort of classic program that any city or development will have. It's, I think, 70% residential and the rest broken up into commercial, retail, logistics, so on and so forth. The other video that I didn't show you guys are other parts of NEOM that has a industrial city. We have a ski resort and a town. So it's augmented, the line is augmented by other program that hopefully will give it the critical mass requires for its diversity and success. But the point I want to make, it's the same sort of mix that you will find in any city, you know, 70%, 60% residential, and whatever else the other percentages are for the other mixes.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah, I think we can probably play the video in the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
If
we have all the questions. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, let's answer the questions. This is good.
Yeah, so if anyone got any more questions, feel free to let us know afterwards. Send email to us or like Facebook or
Journey to
yes.
Okay, I'll play it.
Journey to New Heights, a unique global destination driven by cutting-edge technology in NEOM. This is Trojena. Breathtaking architecture and innovative engineering fold seamlessly into the natural landscape, ascend to a vertical village, a portal connecting the digital and the physical. The seasonal climate provides a multitude of high-altitude adventures in the Arabian Peninsula with the region's first outdoor ski experience. Enjoy the buzz of world-class entertainment, the crisp mountain air and the world's most advanced health and well-being center nourish both body and soul. And as night falls, you can witness the stars as you've never seen them before. Welcome to Trojena, the mountains of NEOM.
So I just have to say, the reason why I showed that video, by the way, with Trojena, it's because we're going to be hosting the 2029 Asia Winter Games. And what that means is any of our winter athletes in Hong Kong, China, all of Asia will be coming here. And that's the project that will be hosting the games. So that's why I showed that video.
Thank you very much, Rachel, for our time tonight. And thank you everyone for your questions and your interest in this topic. So I will try to have another series soon, maybe in a month or so. So please keep in touch and we'll share the information in social media and email very soon. Thank you everyone. And that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thanks.